everyone, and welcome back to Arsenal Fan Theory. Tonight, I'm your host, Michael Duplessis. We've got a new exciting episode for you tonight. Tonight, we will be doing a Premier League show, and my guest for tonight would be Tottenham Hotspur fan Reinier Barnard. Welcome back to the show, Reinier.
Thanks for having me back, bud.
I know it's a bit difficult to have you back on the show after the loss to Spurs, but it's also difficult to be too upset after we beat Liverpool last night.
Yeah, I could only imagine. To be honest with you, I actually hoped you guys would beat us 5-0 so they could get rid of Reinier, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, we'll get more into that a bit later. I thought we'd jump straight into the Arsenal results. 2-1 victory for Arsenal. You know, as an Arsenal fan, I was really surprised. My prediction for the game was 3-1 to Liverpool, and that, in my opinion, was being optimistic. You know, so I didn't expect that at all. I think the stats at the end of the game was we had 31% possession and that 69% possession. It was something like 24 shots to 3. We only had 2 shots on target. Both of them were goals. So we came out with a very surprising win. What were your thoughts on the game?
Oh, you know what? I actually feel it's well deserved for Arsenal. For once, their defense actually shaped up for a bit. Every time that Luis plays, I think I start shivering for your part. I mean, that one shot that Salah got off, that cheeky little chip shot that he tried, it was absolutely ridiculous how Luis just fell to the ground, and I just couldn't believe that he's still starting. So, with all due respect, I'm very glad you guys won. It was a brilliant game to watch. You capitalized on your points, and to be honest, Lacazette actually pulled through for you guys. For the first time, you actually saw a striker being a poacher, and it was a brilliant thing to see.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was really surprised with the result. You know, we were soaking up a lot of pressure, and we know Arsenal defense we are in shambles most of the time. So we make a lot of mistakes. We let in easy goals. And last night, I think we were actually really solid defensively, which I'm not too used to. And, you know, then Alisson and Van Dijk gifted us 2 goals. I know it came off the press, but, you know, you wouldn't expect that from them. And just getting onto that Salah shot, I don't think it was meant to be a chip shot. I think it just got stuck under him a little bit. But, yeah, you're right. I don't know why Luis just went straight down to the ground. But once again, I think Emi Martinez put in a good performance.
Yeah, no, he really did.
So, yeah, let's go straight to Spurs. So they played against, it was Newcastle. They had Newcastle away. So, well, Spurs were away. It was a 3-1 victory. 2 goals for Harry Kane. It got him to his 200th club goal. And what were your thoughts on the performance?
No, absolutely brilliant. You know, as I said the previous time we spoke, that if Spurs actually pitch for the game and Mourinho actually does his job, then Spurs could actually be a force to be reckoned with. And we showed that at Newcastle. They haven't, you know, they haven't let in a lot of goals on their own stadium in specific. So they've been a very good defensive force, Newcastle at home. And I think we actually capitalized brilliant. Harry Kane was back on point. It seemed like the old Kane under Poch. So it was very nice to see. I think the midfield dominated the game, to be honest, and I'm very glad about that. But the only thing is, we are nearing the end of the season. They're pushing for a Europa League spot. With the type of competition we're facing for the Europa League, I think we'll need to win the next 2 games, as well as hoping that the teams above lose, which I do not necessarily see coming. It's not those type of tough games, especially for Leicester and Wolves. You know, especially with Man City not, you know, getting their ban overturned, while getting their ban overturned and actually staying in the Champions League. It actually got things very exciting. So it's going to be interesting, but we'll just hope for the best as a Spurs supporter.
Yeah, well, at this stage of the season, with City's ban being overturned, I think the race for the Europa League might be a bit more exciting than the Champions League spots at this stage, because, you know, there's probably 6 teams competing for the Champions League, but there's probably 4 or 5 more competing for 5th, 6th, maybe 7th place. You know, so I think that's going to be a big last 3 games for all of those teams. But I also saw in the news earlier this week that you know, Serge Aurier's brother was shot and killed a day or 2 before your game against Newcastle. So that was
Yes.
obviously really upsetting. Well, for any football fan, for any decent human being as well. But Kane dedicated his goals to Serge Aurier. So just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it shows a lot on the team spirit. I mean, those guys have been playing together for about 2 to 3 years, especially since Aurier's been there. But if you take it into a whole lot, that squad has been the squad for the last 5 years or so. There's been a few additions coming in and so forth. So it just says something about the team spirit. I'm very proud of the way that they play for each other. Especially talking about not just that, but the Black Lives Matter initiative as well. Players taking it into their own hands. I'm not a fan of players getting into politics, as in specific Raheem Sterling. However, players taking it into their hands and showing that some things actually do matter, and just showing how much it matters as well. So, team spirit is brilliant. The spirit of football in itself is getting better, and it's going to be interesting what it's going to be like when the crowds actually come back. The whole racism factor that was that big before everything came in, and as well, team spirits being indulged in. So it'll be quite an interesting restart for the season.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And so just to go back a bit, well, we all know Jose Mourinho is he comes under criticism a lot, because he's so controversial, and he
Mm.
doesn't keep quiet. He always speaks his mind. He came out saying that cities that the ban was overturned. It was a disgrace, because he didn't say that City were guilty, but he mentioned that if City were guilty, they wouldn't even have had to pay a fine. But we all know that Mourinho is a good coach. He's been a proven winner over the years. I know he's been struggling over the last few seasons, even though he did win the Europa League with Man United. He's also been linked to Arsenal before Arteta and Emery came. In my opinion, I'm glad he didn't come. I don't want him as our coach. But
Correct.
if he can get the support from the chairman and the club and get the signings that he needs, that he can do some good for Spurs. If your star players decide to stay. But yeah, let's move on. Let's go
That's true.
into some of the results over the week. I think Wolves blew a big chance to maybe get into the top four. They're obviously still competing for the Europa League places. They drew away to Burnley, and it was a late, I believe, penalty that cost them the 3 points, and now they 3 points behind United with only 2 games left. So I don't see them getting into the Champions League spots. Do you?
Yeah, I can't see them coming into Champions League. I think the form that United is in, you won't see Wolves actually competing for that spot at the moment. Obviously, they'll push. They'll probably win their last 2 games. But so too will United. It's going to be interesting what United do tonight. But I think with the type of attacking force and the form that United is in, there's no way anyone's going to surpass them at this moment. So my bet would probably be, well, probably be, probably be. So sorry, Mike. In any case, so yeah, my bet would be, Wolves on Europa League spots. It could be very tight between themselves and Leicester. However, I do think Wolves will pull it through.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Wolves getting in. They're a very strong side. I'm actually looking forward to see what happens with them next season, because with the way they've been performing over the past 2 seasons, if they can make some good acquisitions with players, obviously, they can definitely start competing for Champions League spots. Okay.
That's true. The only issue that I think Wolves do have is the fact that they don't have any depth in their squad. The starting 11's the starting 11. Those players go on game in, game out. The moment they get a big injury or so, they completely in the guts. So if they could build on depth, maybe get a proper youth system going, you could see them being a long-term threat. But for the short term, I'm not so sure. They're going to have to build some depth in order to do that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm really excited to see what happens. I see Traore has already been linked to quite a few clubs. Jimenez has been linked to a few clubs for quite a while, especially United. So if they can keep them and make some good signings, I think they'll be a force going forward.
Definitely. Traore is an absolute brilliant player.
No, he definitely is. I think he can get into any top six side if he would if they were to sign him.
Very true.
Let's go to Chelsea. Chelsea got a 1-0 victory over Norwich. They look one of the favourites to make the Champions League spots with competing with Leicester and Man U. But they, they they did get the 1-0 victory with a Giroud goal. But I don't know. After the last two games, they haven't looked the best to me. So I'm actually not too sure. I think they might be very lucky to get even into fourth place. I don't know if you think they'll be stronger in the last few games or what's going to happen.
Yeah, to be honest, Mike, I think they would probably be able to get into fourth, maybe. But they will need to push. I mean, they're getting a play in the likes of Timo Werner. They have already got Ziyech, who had his first training with them today. So if you look at the type of squad they are building, you can't have those type of profile players and not play Champions League. So Lampard has no choice but to win. So to see them win would be something else because the form hasn't been all there. I just hope that they truly can get there because that's going to be a true force to reckon with Liverpool and City. I think once those guys come in, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think Chelsea. It's another exciting prospect for next season. I don't like to see them excel, but Ziyech and
Not at all.
like you just said, Ziyech and Werner's coming in. They're going after Chilwell, maybe even Alaba. So they definitely splashing the cash. So we'll have to wait to see what happens over the transfer window, but they'll probably be quite the force next season.
No, they could be. Let's just hope they don't beat either of our teams because then I'm going to be very sour. There's one team I hate more than Arsenal, and that's Chelsea, my friend.
Unfortunately for you as an Arsenal fan, there's not a team that I don't like more than Spurs. So let's just get into our predictions for the top four for the Champions League places. So obviously Liverpool champions have already been crowned. They're already in the Champions League next season. City, they're not going to be caught by anyone. So I think the top contenders, the top three teams to fight for those last two places would obviously be Leicester, United, and Chelsea. Wolves and Sheffield might have a bit of a shout, but I don't see it happening. What are your predictions for the top four come the end of the season?
Yeah, honestly speaking, my friend, I do think that United and Chelsea will put it through. Can't see Wolves getting above Chelsea, to be honest. Leicester might put on a bit of an effort towards Chelsea for their Champions League spot. But the fight between 4, 5, and 6 is going to be a proper fight. It's going to be interesting to see where it does wind up. However, my bets would be on Man United on third place and Chelsea on fourth. But once again, it all depends on the mood the players are in. I mean, you get those type of games where they could throw away the last two games. There's 2 games left of the season. So it could be that they actually lose it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But if they keep their heads, it should probably be a United Chelsea. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, like you said, United are on top form right now. They're really dangerous going forward. So I definitely also see them ending up in third place. Martial, Greenwood, Rashford, Pogba, Fernandes, all of them are on great form right now. So I don't see many teams stopping them at the moment. And I think also next season they might be giving a go to the higher teams, like Liverpool and City. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, especially also with the transfer window coming up. And like I also said, I don't like to see Chelsea succeed. It's just from Arsenal's perspective. So I'd like to see Leicester to push through and get that fourth place spot. Sorry, I just disconnected quickly. So like I said, I'd like to see Leicester pushing for that fourth spot because I also don't see them keeping the pace next season. I think Brendan Rodgers came in and he did a really good job. He's got a good team. But Vardy's getting a bit old. And if they don't make proper signings, I don't see them keeping up with the rest of the top 6 next season. So I'd like to see them ending up in.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind, Mike, that in order for Leicester to replace a player like Vardy of the same type of quality, they will need to be able to play Europa football. It's either got to be Europa League or Champions League. If they don't play those, the chances of you signing a high-profile player is so much lower. So I think for their own best, they need to make one of those two spots. If they don't, I see them becoming an average team. Honestly, they should be in about mid-table or so forth, unless they could by some miracle get the youngsters and so forth coming in, like Iheanacho and those type of players to actually make the type of impact a player like Vardy made. I mean, you could clearly see when Mahrez left him for Manchester City and Danny Drinkwater left them, N'Golo Kante left them. All of those big players that used to play such a big role in their team left. And Vardy was the only one actually keeping the team together until Brendan Rodgers came. So unless those players are going to start to step up with the age coming for Vardy, I don't see them actually excelling at all, to be honest.
Yeah, like you just mentioned, Vardy is already 32 years of age, so he doesn't have too many big seasons ahead of him left, but I see him finishing his career probably with Leicester. He's well, while he's still on top, as you would say.
Definitely.
But it's also difficult to count them out, because even when they were champions this season, people don't give them much of a chance, because if you look squad-wise, they don't have the best squads going around, but still they seem to do major upsets
That's true.
and perform really well.
However, Mike, I do think they're one of the stronger midfields in the whole of the Premier League. I mean, if you look at players in the form of Madison, they've got Tielemans, they've got what's that other midfielder that they've got, the holding midfielder that they're playing with?
Maybe Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes is the winger, but Unzoli, I can't remember his name. But they've got a proper midfield actually at the moment, and I do think if they can build around that midfield, key players like Chilwell, then it'll actually be proper for them.
Yeah, they do definitely have a proper midfield, but I definitely see top clubs coming after Chilwell and Madison, maybe even after Schmeichel, because he's also a top keeper. So
of course.
He can walk into many, many big clubs as well. All right, so let's move on. There's some also interesting battles going on with the relegation battle going on. So obviously Norwich have already been relegated, but I've got some few stats here, a few fixtures left here. I picked out Villa, Bournemouth, Watford and West Ham, because those would probably be the four teams that might get relegated, obviously two of them. So Villa sit on 30 points. They've got Everton left, they've got Arsenal left and West Ham left. Bournemouth sit on 31 points. They've got Man City, Southampton and Everton. Watford sit on 34 points. They've got West Ham, Man City and Arsenal. And then West Ham also on 34 points. They've got Watford, Man United and Villa. So not only they're very close, that makes it very interesting. West Ham's playing Villa and Watford. Watford's playing West Ham, and then they've got two big games in City and Arsenal. Bournemouth have very difficult fixtures in City, Everton, and Southampton. And I know Villa probably also going to struggle in Everton, Arsenal, and West Ham. So and just to mention, West Ham and Villa is going to be a final day clash. If Villa don't get relegated before that, it might be a big game for the relegation battle. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on who you think might get relegated come the end of the season.
Mike, I honestly think the last three at the moment will stay the last three. Even if Aston Villa and Bournemouth do win their last games, I don't think Watford will let slip. So West Ham is always a maybe. Sad to say, but West Ham is a brilliant side. And with them actually playing in the form that they're playing, I can't see them staying in the Premier League for much longer. Maybe 1 season, 2 seasons, maybe, if David Moyes does start having his players play, because I, for one, don't really think that David Moyes is the type of coach that they need. He's not been as great as he used to be with Everton for those 10 odd years that he coached there. However, I do think that the bottom three will stay the bottom three. I can't see it changing. But if you look at it on this one, Michael, the only team in, let's say, the bottom 5, okay, the only team that actually spent proper money was Aston Villa. And unfortunately, Aston Villa is going to be relegated. And I don't really know why. Obviously, bad performances and so forth. But, they're going to lose their star players. You can imagine how many millions those clubs are losing. If you look at a team like, for instance, Norwich, I saw a stat the other day that Norwich only spends about £900,000 when coming into the Premier League. Nothing else was spent. So you can't expect them not to be relegated.
Yeah, well, I actually agree with you. I see the bottom three at the moment going down, which would be Norwich, Villa, and Bournemouth, obviously. I'd actually like to see Watford do the drop because I'm not a big fan of Watford. Thank you, Mr. Cordini. um, yeah. Villa, I actually like them a bit. Like you said, they spend quite a bit of money, but I'd actually like to see them do the drop just to see who buys Jack Grealish, and how he would do at a top club. Because
That's very true.
I think he's a great prospect, a great player, and he brings a lot to the team.
Now,
And then
Grealish is an absolute diamond of a player.
just touching on Norwich as well, that's already been relegated. I think financially, it, I get what you're saying. That obviously doing the drop is not good for TV rights, for fans going to the stadium, for sponsors, for all those types of things. But Norwich do have some top players. Like they've got their right back, Max Aarons, they've got Buendia, and they've also got Tom Cantwell. Those are three top youngsters.
Correct.
And if they do the drop, they're doing the drop. So I see also some clubs coming in and spending some money on those players. And I already saw Norwich's coach coming out and saying that the bidding starts at 20 million pounds. So that would obviously be a good place for them to bring in money.
Oh, of course.
And then, sorry, I just wanted to touch on West Ham as well. I'm a big fan of West Ham. Even since I've been watching Arsenal, it's been for 10 years now. Before that, I've watched Green Sea Hooligans, and that movie actually got me quite hooked on football, and it got me hooked on West Ham. I'm a big fan of West Ham. I actually think they have a great team. It's just not clicking at the moment. If you look at their squad, they're definitely at least a mid-table squad. They shouldn't be fighting for relegation.
Not at all.
Moyes is a new coach, but I also don't think he might be the right option going forward. We'll see what happens. Well, if they don't do the drop, I'm as far as I understand, Moyes is getting quite a lucrative contract, also for quite a few years. But we'll see how long that lasts.
No, definitely.
So I'm a big fan of West Ham, and I do hope they stay up.
No, I agree. Oh, but with the love of a coach, I always tell a coach, never buy a house because you never know how long they're going to keep you there, to be honest. I mean, if you look at a place like Chelsea, they go through coaches as its cereal boxes. It's just left, right, and centre. They just don't give. And with all due respect, I think if Moyes doesn't cut it in next season, well, he's obviously going to have to avoid relegation this year. If he doesn't cut it next season, then I personally think he's going to have to move on. They won't keep him.
Oh, well, I definitely see West Ham making it through. They already have 3 points over Bournemouth that sits in 18th at the moment, and Mikel Antonio, he's been on red hot form, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got 6 goals in his last 3 games, He's not the best of strikers or best of forwards going forward for me, I think he's not too bad on the wing, but he got 2 goals in 2 games, and then he came and scored 4 goals in 1 match. His first ever hat trick. And if he can keep that form up, I definitely see West Ham staying up.
No, definitely. No, like I said, I don't see the rest changing too much. The bottom 3 would stay the bottom 3. Could be 1 or 2 spot changes between place 17 and place 14. Well, not 14, but 15. But nothing too big, to be honest with you. However, I do feel like something's got to change in that West Ham camp. As you said, they are definitely a mid-sided table. A mid-table side. So they absolutely have to start performing. It just can't keep on the way it is.
Yeah, they made quite a big name, well, big money signing in Sebastian Haller. I just don't think he's quite the fit they need. They need a striker that's going to score them goals week in, week out, and they would definitely
Yeah,
end up in the top 10.
no, definitely. I agree 100% with you on that.
All right, just some other things I wanted to touch on tonight's episode is so the dates for the transfer window has been released. Normally it's only 8 weeks, which is 2 months. But for this season, it's going to run from the 27th of July till the 5th of October. So that would be for 10 weeks. And I actually expect quite a lot to happen in the transfer window. Are there any players or any transfers you would like to touch on? Any big name signings that you expect to happen?
At the moment, it's just rumors and rumors. I think about a week before the transfer window starts, we'll start seeing real, potential players signing and so forth. If I look at a Spurs side, our defenders are getting very old at the moment. There's no real, there's no real, you know, it's almost like they're losing concentration in terms of their game. Uh, I don't know how to explain it, Michael. It's just that fierceness that they had with regards to 2-3 years ago, where they are at the moment. It's just game in, game out, play a game, and it's done. There's no real intensity from our defenders. So I think from a Spurs point of view, we need to get a few new defenders. I personally think Arsenal need to get a few defenders. Thank you, Mr. David Luiz. But furthermore, I don't think Spurs has a lot to touch on. But there should be a few great transfers coming through it this season. What's your opinion with regards to what Arsenal need at the moment?
Well, I completely agree with you. Spurs and Arsenal both need to probably revamp their defense. I'm quite happy with Bellerin and Suarez on right back / right wing back. Maitland-Niles also can play there. I'm very happy with Tierney playing left back or left wing back, and Kolasinac could definitely be backup for him. But we do need to invest in centre backs, definitely. We've got Saliba coming in. He's been rated very highly, but he's still a youngster. You can't expect him to hit the ground running. We also signed Pablo Mari, but it's also difficult to know what to expect from him because he hasn't been playing too much and he's already injured for the rest of the season. I'd definitely like to see Upamecano coming to Arsenal. I think he's also a youngster, and I think that would actually sort out the defense for quite a few years, because Luiz, although he makes quite a few mistakes when he's on the pitch, he's quite a good mentor. He can teach a lot to the youngsters, So with Saliba, Upamecano, Mari, even Holding, I'm a big fan of Holding. Musi's been playing well under Arteta. I think it might be a lot better for our defense. I think Arteta actually wants to play back four, but we just don't have the players at the moment. And just touching on Spurs, it's quite confusing for me because you made two big money signings, big name signings in Jedson Fernandez and Ndombele, and they barely see the pitch. I don't know what's happening there. So, but it also from Southampton, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. He looks set on signing for Tottenham. So it looks like that's almost all but done, all but agreed. So
correct.
That'd be a midfield signing with some defensive signings. And if you can keep your attackers in Bergwijn, Kane and Son, I think Spurs might start challenging again for the top four next season. But
I agree with you, Mike. But I just apologies for coming in, but I just can't understand why Spurs need to sign midfielders the whole time. I mean, we've got a ton of them. Only in central midfield itself, disregarding the wingers that are playing. You've got Harry Winks. You've got Giovanni Lo Celso. That's got another whole year of loan contract.
Big name signing, yeah.
And he's a potential signing as well because there is an agreement in place to get him permanently on the books. You've got Ndombele, Jedson Fernandez. Now you want to get Højbjerg as well. I mean, where are these guys going to get playing time? I personally feel they are wasting the potential of these players.
Yeah, that's why I actually wanted to ask. I see either Fernandez or Ndombele going if you sign Højbjerg because your midfield is starting to get a bit overloaded. If you sign Lo Celso on a permanent and if you sign Højbjerg, and apparently Wings has a big future at the club as well. You got Eric Dyer that plays CDM and centre back. So I think
We've got him as well.
there's a few headaches going forward for Mourinho for next season.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't understand why they are doing that. If they could start investing in proper central backs, rather, I do think we need some new wing backs as well. Serge Aurier is still doing good. I'm very proud of him, but Ben Davies hasn't hit the mark of this season. Last season he's been brilliant in the Champions League and so forth, but this season it just hasn't come to the pitch.
I also forgot to mention, I also saw on the news today that Barcelona might be willing to loan out Samuel Umtiti. That could be another good loan signing for Arsenal, because as well as I've experienced over the past, Arsenal aren't too big on splashing the cash. A loan deal might be suited. I'd like us to sign Sabars and Partey as well for our midfield, even if that means Lucas Torreira going. I'm okay with that, even though I'm a big fan of Torreira. Well, we're touching mostly on Spurs and Arsenal transfers, but I also saw United's quite going after Thiago from Bayern Munich and also chasing Sancho a bit, which might be great signings. And I also just want to mention it looks like Jude Bellingham, great 16-year-old from Birmingham, looks set to sign for Borussia Dortmund, But I think we can do a whole episode of transfers, I think we'll sit here for the whole night talking about transfers.
No, definitely. I think a transfer session would be well in order.
Yeah, no, we can definitely organize something. Also, just to touch on the dates for the transfer window, it's like I said, it's 27 July to 5 October. It's gonna end at 11 p.m. In the UK. But not only that, clubs from England will have till the 16th of October to sign players. Not Premier League clubs between themselves, but from the Championship, and Championship can sign Premier League players, which might also have a big impact. Well, it depends on how all the clubs' transfer plans goes.
Should be. I mean, a whole 10-week, transfer center is brilliant. I honestly think it'll do the clubs good. I think we're going to be in for a very good transfer center. With this window coming in, there should be some big names going back and forth. I think last season it wasn't too big. No real, statement buys from the clubs. But this season, some clubs are going to have to splash the cash. I mean, if you're looking at where some of the teams are sitting and where you expect them to sit, you just can't go with that. I think Dortmund with Bellingham would be a great suit. Give him a 4-year contract, have him play there for 4 years, do the same as what they did with Sancho. Suddenly you've got a star player, someone the whole world wants. They are brilliant at developing the youth. So I think that might be a great thing for his future in specific. Though I think he would make a great fit as well. As playing as a backup, and it's going to sound very, very odd. However, I do think he'll make a great fit on backup for someone like Gabriel Jesus at Manchester City at the moment. Because where you hear the speculation of Aguero going one side, Jesus will be the only striker left for City. And a young player like that to fill the same role as Jesus filled for Aguero would actually be a good thing. But for the future of the young kid, I'd say send him to Borussia and let it done with.
Yeah, well, it looks like he's going to sign for Dortmund, and I completely agree with you. I think Dortmund are great at sniffing out young talent and turning into big name players. Just touching on City quickly, Aguero is also getting old now, and I expect him to still be playing for City for a season or two, but I also saw in the transfer news that they're looking at Lautaro Martinez as a replacement for him. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that. But after that, I want to stop this transfer talk now. Otherwise, we're definitely going to be talking for quite a while.
Yeah, to be honest, I think getting Martinez would be. You see, getting a player of that type of profile is always a good thing. But for the career of Jesus is a bad thing. Jesus has been groomed for the last 5 years with City. I think he's going to be an absolute menace for the players once he gets that starting role that Aguero has at the moment. So I don't think they should get Martinez. I think they should get someone to fill the void that Jesus would be leaving in taking the first team spot. I can't see it being the other way around, to be honest. If they do that, then Jesus is definitely going to move clubs. I don't think any decent human being will actually sit for 5 years, be groomed, and not want to start. It makes sense on them wanting to get Martinez because they always get the best youth there is, to be honest. But it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I just don't tell the Arsenal youth players that that they don't, that you wouldn't sit on the bench and be groomed into the side of the next few years. But I actually agree with you. Jesus is a talent. I can see moving on if they get Martinez, but then they obviously need to sign backup for Martinez, and I expect City to spend big as they normally do. Okay, and
they always do.
one of the final things I wanted to touch on is that it's been confirmed now that across the world that the 5 subs rule is safe for next season. However, every competition, like the Premier League, the Champions League, La Liga, all those types of things, get to decide if they want to keep it. Would you be in favour for the 5 subs rule for next season for the Premier League?
Yes, of course, I would. I think it'll make things very interesting. I think you'll see some new tactics coming through. The depth of the players would be even more broadened, and you'll see a lot more players getting a lot more opportunity. I mean, with many games, game in, game out, you'll see the same 11 starting and the same 3 coming on as subs, and the rest of the players just never get any spotlight on it. So I think on developing the rest of the squad, it'll be an absolute brilliant thing to happen.
Well, well, I agree with you that it would definitely be good for youth players and for development to have for the 5 sub rule, because they'll obviously see a lot more playing time. I think you'll also probably see a lot more rotation in the league. But I need to disagree. I'm not for the 5 sub rule. I grew up knowing football as 3 subs my whole life. And I think it might end like an advantage to teams like City. City, not only do they have a great starting 11, but they've got a very, very deep bench, a very deep squad, so it would obviously play into their hands a lot as well. So I'd hope that the Premier League decides against it and go back to the good old football that's only 3 subs per game, and it would also be it's also a lot more tactical, in my opinion, to only have 3 subs a game, because that's every decision you make is a bit more important, when there's 5 subs, you can throw on 2 subs quickly and see how it plays out, and you can change your plans a little bit. So
that's very true.
Yeah. So
tactically wise, it makes a big difference. So I could understand your points on only having 3 subs. However, something we have not touched on, which I think we should do in the next session or so, is VAR, of course. The controversy continues to just spark everywhere in each and every game. I personally feel that they should completely throw out VAR. It's a great initiative, but the way that it's being utilized is, in my personal opinion, absolutely ridiculous. You've seen goals allowed and disallowed that's not even supposed to be allowed or disallowed in the common sense, but because no vibrating, watch went off there, it just makes no sense, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's something for the next session. I don't know. Last point quickly. What's your opinion on the VAR match at the moment at the end of the season?
Well, you see in every other sports, they, like in rugby, you'd say it's like a TMO. In cricket, well, we're South Africans, so that's how I go to South African sport. In cricket, it would be a third umpire. So I definitely see it fitting into the game, but it's definitely not being utilized correctly. I agree with you. Some shocking decisions, which isn't the problem in the main sense. I'm okay with the shocking decisions as long as it's consistent. What goes for one team should go for every team.
Agreed.
And Katie, I just got a red card for a challenge against Leicester, where Trent Alexander-Arnold basically did the same thing on Bukayo Saka last night. It was just a bit low on his
nothing
leg.
happens.
And he got off with a soft yellow, So I just think they need to pick up the consistency. Also, obviously, lessen the shocking decisions, because there's been some really, really shocking decisions over the course of the season. So I think if they can utilize it correctly and make better decisions, then I'm all for it, But as it's going at the moment, I could live without VAR.
Agreed, 100%.
All right, so the last thing I thought we'd do for tonight is predict some scores for some of the last big games that will be happening for this match week, for the rest of the week. So, Villa at home to Everton. What are your predictions for that one?
Everton's not doing too bad at the moment, but nothing exciting. Villa would always be working to get out of the relegation spots in the last two games they've got left. I'd say Villa to take it at 2-1. Most certainly a 1-1, but I hope Villa would take it at a 2-1.
Well, I definitely also see Villa going out all guns blazing, try and securing a place in the league next season. But, I also think Everton have been playing well under Ancelotti. They've been in a bit of a dip of form in the past few weeks or past few matches, but I see Everton pulling this one through 2-1. Okay, so next up, it's Leicester at home to Sheffield. That's another big match in the race for Champions League and Europa League spots. What are your predictions?
Yeah, Leicester should probably pull it through. The more experienced coach in Brendan Rodgers would probably be the difference between the two teams. Although Sheffield has been fighting, but yeah, let's not dream too big, to be honest. So I think it'll be a 2-0 or maybe a 2-1, but I'm going for 2-0 Leicester.
I think this is going to be a really difficult game. I think it's going to be quite physical. I think I expect Sheffield to be quite physical and Leicester to attack with pace. But, I think Sheffield's been playing really well this season. So I expect a quite cagey affair. I think it's going to end up as a 2-2 draw. All right. So next up is Palace at home to Man United. Man United, big game for them to maybe get into the Champions League and top three. What are your predictions there?
Awesome game to see tonight. I'm actually gearing up for it as we speak. I do think United would probably take it at about 3-0. Can't see Palace doing much unless Zaha gets a wonder goal or so, as he did do last week. But furthermore, can't see anything great from them. So 3-0 United.
Yeah, well, United's been playing really well. They're on red hot form at the moment, and they're really dangerous with the attack going forward. I like Palace, and obviously I don't like United, but United have got some great players. So I also see them winning this one 3-1. All right, so the final one we'll do is a big match in the relegation battle. It's West Ham at home to Watford, and that would be tomorrow evening. What do you think is going to happen with this one?
Yeah, the crowd isn't really affected at the moment, so I can't see the home advantage really being something. Watford has been in some great form, to be honest. So it could be Watford to win, could be West Ham to win. It's a 50-50, to be honest. I see a 1-1 draw.
Well, I agree. I actually see a draw for this one. I think it's also going to be a real fight, a real battle going forward. But like I said earlier in the episode, I'm a big fan of West Ham. So as I also see a 1-1 draw, I'm hoping for a 2-1 victory for West Ham.
Oh, your heart's leaning towards West Ham, my friend.
Definitely. Well, Reinier, it was a really fun episode. It was our first one for Premier League show / roundup. I definitely look forward to having you on the show again and doing this a lot more often in the future. Thanks for coming on.
Fantastic. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to some great things here.
And I also just want to thank all our watchers for obviously watching. And also remember to like, comment, subscribe, and also share. You can find us on Instagram at Arsenal Fan Theory, on Twitter at Theory Arsenal, on Facebook also on Arsenal Fan Theory, and YouTube as well at Arsenal Fan Theory. See you next time.